Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining our session on exploring cultural anthropology at the Crossroads in China with our faculty leader, Avigdor Edminster. Avigdor, thanks so much for joining us today at our live virtual study abroad fair, our inaugural fair here. We're really excited to talk a little bit about your program, answer any questions that students might have, and of course, let them know more ways to get in touch for more information. But as I mentioned, I'm the director of the International Education Office, and Avigdor, if you could introduce yourself, and then we'll get into some of the meat of the program.
Hi everyone, I'm Avigdor Edminster, and I teach cultural anthropology and peace studies at UW-Stout. I'm a cultural anthropologist with actually a background also in history. My focus is on mostly the contemporary US. I'm really excited to be going to China this summer and to be leading this program, also with Justin Nichols in creative writing.
Excellent, thank you. And Avigdor, I love the background there, the paper display setting, tell us about that. Is that Chinese or Japanese, or where does that come from?
Well, I'm sorry you asked, Scott, because I don't actually know. It was bequeathed to me from a former housemate. So okay. I think it's actually Japanese.
Okay, quite beautiful nonetheless. So well, again, we thank you. We're very, very excited about your program. Tell us a little bit about the course itself. So my understanding is students will take a 3-credit cultural anthropology class. There's going to be a component in country for 4 weeks, and then there's also going to be some online activity either prior to or post the actual experience.
Yeah, wonderful. So I'll be teaching cultural anthropology, and over the course of 4 weeks, we'll be exploring what it means to be a cultural being. So humans, by definition, are cultural beings, and many of us use the word culture sort of in our everyday lives without thinking much about what that really means. And we'll be doing a broad survey as well as in-depth exploration of what culture is. So everything from language to class, gender, race, religion, economics, politics, ideas about kinship and family. We'll be doing all of this deep exploration of culture in a really richly multicultural and syncretic, meaning lots of different cultural elements are coming together in Harbin, including studying Stout students with Chinese students. So really putting to work in a nitty-gritty way cross-cultural understanding and kind of learning the ways in which culture is really fine-grained as well as really big. So big ideas about culture, large-scale religious or economic differences, but also what it means on a really embodied daily level, like what it feels like to have suddenly a new set of smells and tastes, new expectations about how close people should stand to one another, or what a normal day looks like. These will all be really embodied experience for our students in the program, and that's super exciting.
It is, absolutely. So the other thing I should let students know is they have the opportunity to take your class, as well as you mentioned Justin Nichols' class. He's going to be offering a 3-credit class on creative writing. So it's an opportunity to actually take 6 credits during the summer 2021, which is a pretty amazing experience in terms of being able to stay on track or even get ahead of your studies and maybe even graduate sooner. This is going to be your very first time traveling to China. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. So I'll be having all the kind of culture shock and novel experiences with all along with my students. I mean, obviously, I'm a professional cultural anthropologist, but yeah, it's going to be a time of great excitement and exploration for all of us. So
wonderful. Well, I couldn't think of a better person to enjoy going through the stages of culture shock with. I'm sure that you'll be able to let students know exactly how they're feeling and why they're feeling it, and and to navigate, that period of time. It's certainly a wonderful opportunity. I know there's so much to offer within China. Chinese people are so incredibly friendly. The food is going to be amazing for you and for the students to enjoy. And then, of course, like you mentioned, digging into some of the, a country that has thousands of years of culture, and seeing seeing some of that firsthand will be really, really impressive. So one thing that students should know is we've purposefully connected with a university in China. It's one of our new partners. It's Northeast Agriculture University. My understanding is that you'll be living, on the campus there. And in the class, as you mentioned, will be a combination of U.S. students as well as Chinese students. If you could talk a little bit about, what that will bring to the classroom environment. I'm sure you're excited, but how do you foresee that really amazing type of interaction for our students and some of the benefits?
Yeah, that's going to be absolutely amazing, because one of the things that our students are going to get on both sides, the Chinese students and the students coming from Stout, is the kind of learning on a peer level with fellow students about what their and also your daily lives are like. That kind of sharing on a peer level, doing things together, the kind of learning that's going to take place just from having conversations, sitting around, having coffee, having breakfast in the classroom, trying to help each other figure out, well, how do I translate this word or this concept? All of those kinds of things, even the most casual interaction, is going to be such a powerful source of learning, including learning on a college campus in China. So, for example, the things that we might take for granted at Stout are exactly the kinds of things that we're going to see are not cross-culturally universal. And we kind of don't know what those things are until we experience them. In other words, in anthropology, we often notice that we kind of don't know what we don't know until we're really there. And in the classroom and with peers, doing casual everyday stuff that we normally wouldn't think of as remarkable will be, I bet, the source of some of the greatest memories and learning for our students. Scott, if you don't mind my saying, I wanted to say something else about Harbin.
Sure, absolutely.
So Harbin is really cool too, because as I'm sure students who are interested in this program will learn, it's in the very far northeast of the country, and it's up near Siberia. And it became a sort of major international city as a center for the Trans-Siberian Railroad. And so what we see in Harbin itself is, again, this syncretism, this combination of cultural influences, especially of Russian and Chinese influences, and actually a very large population of Russian Jewish immigration to Harbin, makes it such a unique blend of cultural influences, and of course railroad history too. So anyway,
wonderful.
That's
fantastic. Very exciting. And the other thing that I think is noteworthy is that Harbin pretty much shares the same type of climate as we do here in Wisconsin. I know that their winters can be incredibly cold, and I know that there's a lot of beer production in China there, just like there is here in this part of the country. So, from an agricultural standpoint, weather standpoint, I think there's a lot of real interesting similarities. The other thing that I should state is we have this new partnership with Northeast Agriculture University. So the very same students that are going to be taking part from the Chinese side, in actuality, they are Stout students. They're going to be coming to us in the fall 2021 term, so immediately following the summer. And I think that's super exciting because, like you said, the cultural sharing that's going to take place in the classroom and outside the classroom, the friendships that are going to be developed, that'll all carry back over, and we'll have the opportunity to kind of return the favor and introduce Wisconsin culture to those students when they arrive here to begin their experience, here in Menominee, Wisconsin. So another interesting aspect of this program.
Absolutely.
So, well, tell us, what are your biggest, what excites you the most about this experience, and what are some of the concerns or the worries that you have as well?
There's so much that's exciting that that's like we don't have time for all of it, right? But I think for me, just going to the city itself, and then also the sort of rural areas around the city, just the general nature of international travel in China is very exciting to me. Food, meeting people. I mean, as a cultural anthropologist, it's kind of like when I say I couldn't possibly answer that because it's like, oh, everything, right? All the little details that I won't know until I see. Constant discovery, um, meeting new people, music, architecture, food, travel, politics, history, religion. Really excited to go to some um, religious centers, to go to the museums, just to meet my students, to meet my colleagues there at the university there. So all of that is very exciting. I also really do think this couldn't be. I mean, it's going to be so fun and interesting and deeply engaging to be teaching in such a layered, multicultural environment to teach culture, including all the kind of nuanced conversation we're going to need to have to make sure people are really getting all there is to get out of the material we're going to be reading, and sort of figure out ways to talk about analogies or reflect on personal experience. So all of that and tons more. In terms of, Scott, did you say my concerns?
Sure. What are some of the worries that maybe you have, and it could be, or maybe that you perceive students might have when thinking about a program like this?
Well, I mean, I guess some of my worries just have to do with the unknowns of what is it going to be like to do all of that traveling, to what are the daily details going to be like. But I mean, I feel very well taken care of by you and the whole study abroad office. I know that we're also in a lot of communication with the NEAU folks organizing those details. So in a lot of ways, the moment I have those concerns, and they're valid, it's important to think about. Things can kind of go amiss when one is traveling, for example. But I feel like there's a lot of structure in place to take care of those things. So I'm trying not to let the sort of what ifs get to me too much. I think some things will just be challenging, and that's part of a program like this, and it's going to cause all of us, including myself, to grow. Like we will be encountering new experiences and challenges of communication or culture shock every day, and maybe every day for the whole trip. Well, certainly of cultural difference, every day for the whole trip. And that may be uncomfortable, but is also a source of great excitement, learning, growth, and so on. So I think those are the main things that I think about at this point.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's great. And I know, we're in sort of a challenging phase of our governmental relationships between the Sino-American relationship. I have been in touch with our colleagues at NEAU as well as countless Chinese partners. And I think one of the biggest takeaways that our students will soon realize is that government politics and relations are very different than the actual people on the ground. I like to say, when you're there and you're shaking hands and you're speaking, you realize that as a people, we're so closely connected and so similar. And I think that's one of the best outcomes of this type of experience is that, national politics is one thing, but there's a true difference in terms of how people interact with one another. And of course, on both sides, there's different perceptions and different propaganda that we see. But what's the actual sense and feeling on the ground is really heartwarming. And I know through our partnerships that we've established, our students are going to have a phenomenal experience. If they have any fears with regard to the politics of the day, they should try to put them aside, because when they are there, they're going to be treated with the utmost respect. People are going to be just genuinely interested in hearing their perspective, and it presents a really neat opportunity in that students will be asked to take on the role of sort of an ambassador of their country, right? So they might be challenged with some very difficult questions and not be able to answer so easily, in terms of, well, why does your country think this way or think that way? And it's a really interesting opportunity to take that back and to reflect, who we are as a people and why we do things the way that we do, as a nation. So I think, again, another really amazing opportunity for our students to have that experience as part of their educational journey here at Stout. Anything that you'd like to add to that? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, Scott, because one of the great things that you've brought up here is the opportunity to be an ambassador by also representing oneself. So in other words, we will be, to an extent, representing Stout, representing Wisconsin, representing the United States, and many other things. But we also are our specific people, our own specific selves. And that's what's great about it. I mean, in my travels in the past, other places, I've often been asked questions about the United States or why do Americans do X? And it's a very anthropological thing to say, well, not all Americans do, right? So this is my personal belief, or this is what's happening in my community, and that may be different than what you're reading about or hearing about on the news. And it may be really similar, but it's a great opportunity for talking more specifically about cultural variation within a community, within a country. And as you said, Scott, differentiating between, say, people in political power and lots of other people who maybe are not being represented in either propaganda or just news, books, whatever. Yeah, that'll be wonderful.
Yeah, really nice experience, amazing experience for students to have. So
Absolutely.
excellent. Well, and I think the other really important thing to note about this opportunity is that it's a full month, and that's a pretty significant time frame to be able to do this kind of journey with a faculty member in an overseas context. How I view it is the more time that one can experience life in another part of the world, the better off we are, the more learning that takes place. So I think in just about a month, you'll be able to go through some of those phases of culture shock and actually maybe even come out the other end and get to the point where you're really leveling off, and that cycle has leveled, and then of course returning to the U.S., maybe even experiencing some reverse culture shock, right? And I'm sure that again you'll be the best guide to help navigate students through that journey. But anything else that we should add for curious students that you think we didn't touch upon during this brief presentation?
Well, you already said it. I think it'd be absolutely wonderful for students to take both of our classes together, both mine and Justin Nichols, because thinking about weaving in more literature, creative writing, and so on. I mean, he's a guy after my own heart. I was a literature major myself, so I feel like this is just going to be a beautiful coalescence of learning opportunities. Otherwise, you and the whole study abroad office, I know you have so many answers for questions that students might have about the details too.
We do, yeah. I'm actually going to advance one slide here, and if everybody can still see where we're at, yeah. So as we're beginning to wrap up this session, I just want to let students know that we've got a lot of information out there on our study abroad, website where the application portal resides. We also have a team that's readily available to answer questions and do virtual meetings just like this, where we can address questions head on and kind of help people to go through the motions of the application itself. One thing that I should also state is I'm working right now with the Embassy of China and trying to get an additional scholarship opportunity in place that will help to significantly reduce the costs for students. It might even cover all the costs in country, which would be just phenomenal. So I think in terms of the value that this program has from a cost perspective and from a learning perspective is tremendous. And I can't encourage students enough to think about it seriously and apply. But you can see on the screen here, there's an opportunity to schedule a virtual appointment or to email us, directly. And I'm sure the same goes for you too. Students could reach out to you and with any questions or concerns that they have.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we really appreciate your time today. And this is I think one of my most one of the programs I'm most excited about of all of our offerings this coming summer. I think it's just an amazing opportunity. So.
Yeah, I'm excited too, Scott. Thank you.
Well, thanks again for your time, and I wish you all the best this semester. We'll something to look forward to, I guess, at the end of COVID-19, having
Yeah,
a beautiful voyage to China. So,
yeah, for sure. Thank
all
you,
right,
Scott.
you're welcome. Well, thank you again. Yep.